This meeting is being recorded.
Hey, everybody, we're going to start in about 4 minutes. We'll start at 10:03. Mackie, I'm saying it's just me and you on the Zoom call.
Yeah, I'm gonna email Sandy Ross and see if she's having problems.
They must not have started yet.
Hey, Mackie, I think this might be a different Zoom login than went out in the email. Buck says some people are having a hard time getting in.
Mackie, did you send me a different link when you got me in just now? You're muted.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure.
Hey, guys, can we send something on the WhatsApp real quick and I'll forward it individually?
Here,
We
hold on a
probably
second.
want to do a forward email with a corrected one. once
Hold
we
on a
confirm it.
second. I'll send it. Hold on a second.
Thanks.
Once you know
I just sent it out on WhatsApp.
Okay. I see it.
You drafting the coffee, Robert? He got a smaller cup than I got.
I don't know what's going on with the thing. I have to talk to Diane Ainsley about that.
Okay, Scott. Sorry, thank you.
You don't need it?
No, somebody do this all.
You still trying to prop it up?
They got about on stage on this bus. You know, I think I was gonna make it here today. Yeah, it's going to crack. It's going to stay. An accident. Not me, but the people, man.
Mackie, did you just re-link everything to the link that was sent out in the email?
I call fucking there.
Like, did you click into this meeting from the link that was sent out in the email?
Yes.
It's weird that they're getting a different link.
I don't know. I
Got deals done. Yeah.
Eleanor
Alright,
Perkins in.
welcome.
Buck's in.
Well, yeah, it's not working. You 20 followers. That's so.
Is everybody in, Buck? Start in 1 minute.
Get 40 minutes. So they jump in.
Oh, there. It's in.
Yeah.
See what's better.
It's running at the top of my head, so it's making a big shadow. If you guys want to make your final chat or grab a water, restrooms are right here. We got a special today, 1/3 a cup of coffee. If you want to grab a third of a cup of coffee, it's pretty stout. Steak macchiato. There's Jennifer. Walking in the door. Just grab a seat. We've got some extra chairs out. Just make yourself comfortable. Talk after the talk.
How's everybody doing this morning? I need to shake your trade. Trade you. Right.
Hey, Nick. Hey, Robert. How's everything going up there?
It's a beautiful day. We thought we probably should have figured out how to do this outside because they would be
Oh, that
looking
would be
at the
great.
blueberry
Now,
orchard. So next time we might roll the TV out there on the carport and have it outside. It's beautiful outside.
definitely getting into that time of year. That's cool.
72 degrees, sunshiny, rainstorm last night. Everything smells clean.
Ooh.
How are you doing?
We're doing good. It rained here. We've got a cold front coming in, so it's like still 75 degrees and overcast, but it's like the perfect temperature. So, beautiful. And all of my garlic and my chaya and all the things I've been growing are really happy with the rain. So,
You don't have everything up here because I'm such.
Yeah, first. Well, welcome everybody. Glad you're here. We got some new folks here, so we're excited. We're always excited when folks come to New Water. We're excited when people come to these network meetings. We lots of information will be shared, but we also learn a lot as well. So, my name is Robert Brandon. I serve as executive director and farm manager here at New Water. I want to introduce to you two of our staff, our team members. Some of you may have met Matthew Strong before. Matthew has been with us for about 5 years. Started when he was really young, and he is a freshman at college. And look at him. So this is Matthew. Matthew is managing Telecus Sheriff Girls Ranch with his cattle operation. So he's learning a lot in the regenerative space and transferring what we got here to where he's.
Oh, I can't get it on there. It's on my phone.
You, Sandy. And
Matter.
then I want to introduce to you, this is our newest team member, Leo Waldrop. He's the assistant farm manager, and it's been a huge blessing to my life. So he's coming on, a great culinary background, some agriculture. So this is his first meeting with you guys, but he's loving the regenerative agriculture and healthy food and all the good stuff. So great work ethic. He's been a blessing to us. This is just day 9. I'm always excited. So I'm like, are you coming back on day 10? But yeah, so he's soaking up a lot, drinking from a fire hydrant, but just right alongside me every day. And just a real pleasure to have these guys working with us. It's also just what we stand for here at New Water is to teach and train. These guys are going to be older. They may have another career. I don't expect them to be here at New Water when they're my age, 64 years old. But, we have an opportunity to invest in the next generation of young people that have strong work ethics and care about the things, and they want to leave a legacy as well. So they're soaking up a lot of information as we work alongside every day. And so it's just a real honor and a blessing for New Water to have these guys here. So they're going to sit in amongst this meeting and soak it up and be a part of what we're doing. So thanks, guys, for being here.
Nice to meet you.
We're going to switch over now to video with Allie. She's down in Belize. She's a strong member of our team, and she kind of kick it off a little bit about what we're doing. So bear with me as I switch over to a video here real quick. Let's see here. You guys seeing that?
Project. Basically, we ask
Hold on a second. I don't think that worked. Back it up. Pardon me.
And Mackie, could you highlight the screen that is going to be sharing this by clicking on that image, and you can tell it like spotlight or pin, something like that.
Are you all seeing a black screen now?
Yep.
Did you hear the rooster crow and see the screen now?
No, I can see the screen, but no audio.
Comes up with a concern, question, or a challenge.
Can you see the text though?
Where we supporting people in pain with
Kind
pain
of,
and
but
injury.
I could. I'm not, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going with it. But do you want to just start over and we'll have the opportunity to read from it if the audio is not perfect?
We'll try one more time. They can see it great here. We're just not seeing it in the Zoom call, correct?
We can see it right now.
Okay. We'll try this one more time. Take 3.
No audio.
That could be just the sharing feature when you shared the screen. Did you select share web page audio as well?
Yeah.
So you'll stop sharing your screen and then start sharing it again. And in the options that it gives you there, it'll give you an option of share website audio. You'll have to stop sharing first.
Okay, hang on, guys. Now do what, Allie? Sure.
So you're going to start sharing again. Just push share screen, which is that green button on the bottom. And it gives you a page of options. And on the lower right-hand corner, there should be a checkbox that says something about sharing audio from websites. I've got you muted right now.
A question or a challenge. While much of our time is focused in Central America, where we travel between jungle villages supporting people in pain with pain and injuries, we have also had hundreds of conversations with farmers around the world about everything from their health issues to difficulties with their farm. Almost every farmer I've spoken to has an overlap of the same troubles. Their their expenses of both time and money are high. Their revenue comes under various and sometimes unknown threats, and the wellness of their plants needs nearly constant attention. Many farmers have heard about the health concerns directly associated with what they spray on their crops, but without a clear path forward, they will repeatedly use those products until they find a better way. They will prioritize buying these products only because it's a system that they recognize and they know how to use, even if it doesn't support the majority of their long-term goals. Because farmers have to do whatever it takes to keep their yields consistent so they can accommodate their expenses throughout the seasons, and because they usually have sunk a lot of time and money on equipment and materials, making changes to their setup feels like an overwhelming challenge to many. My job has been to help them find a better way forward with a do what you can with what you have where you are perspective, and I try to step into their shoes and recognize the lived experiences of their day-to-day life. We focus on natural and locally available materials to replenish and stabilize the soil, and form solutions based on what individual farmers have tangible access to. We create customized approaches that help develop better balance in their farming practices. When I learned about the 3 product system that this network is currently experimenting with, it piqued my interest, primarily because it is by farmers for farmers. It is addressing the needs of the soil and the plants and encouraging better immunity for the entire farm. And it can be fine-tuned to address unique challenges instead of pursuing outright eradication, which tends to be more expensive and causes a lot more problems. And it fits into my desire to support the wellness of farmers, families, and communities by offering practical guides for farming in a more responsible and plentiful manner without disrupting their routines or needing new equipment. Your farm is a complex and alive piece of the planet. It doesn't only bear your name, it bears the results of generations of farming activity, often where only one type of crop was present at a time. This form of farming is referred to as monoculture farming. And while it has been the backbone of America's farming industry, it's causing a lot of challenges for the farmers who use it, and for the environment around them. Because this type of farming depletes nutrients from the soil, we've done crop rotations, sprayed fertilizers and nutrients, we've met swarms of pests and imbalances, and primarily all of this is because we just don't have the biological components to help keep those factors in check. Through my research, I've discovered that plants which have a regular source of nutrients have a healthier immune system. Much like humans, having their health needs met is equal to having stronger health. With good health, these plants are capable of living more harmoniously and responding to biological threats in effective ways that keep these threats in greater balance. These plants also produce higher yields and healthier, more nutritious produce. So the question for me becomes, how do we create healthier farms while still utilizing systems that farmers understand, which are convenient, accessible, and will not only ultimately save them money, but will minimize their need for endless products and expenses or unhealthy temporary solutions? I believe this network is addressing this question head on. Utilizing the current practices most farms in America are already accustomed to, the AgriHarvest system harnesses the immense benefits of magnesium hydroxide in nanoplatelet form, alongside NutriPlant 643 and deer repellent. It supplies a robust 360-degree support system to your plants. This setup aims to create better balance in your plants and soil. It allows for the use of your current equipment and protocols and decreases the need for harmful additives while increasing the 360-degree health of your pots, fields, and orchards. While we won't make promises that you'll never again have troubles, we do believe that by engaging with our network and utilizing these methods, you'll see a dramatic increase in the health, wellness, and yield of your plants. And we've got scientific results alongside actual real-life field studies to support this belief. The people here at Newater Farms are just one of many locations that have been testing this system. I'd like you to hear a bit from the people who manage their crops and develop their farming practices. They'll tell you what they've done in the past, how they've been supported and challenged by their old practices, and how the AgriHarvest system is changing the lives of their plants and their produce.
Let's see. We don't.
Nick, you want to? Yeah, you can see it. Here, yeah.
That's right. If everyone can just bow their heads, we're going to say a quick little prayer before we get started this morning. Kind of jump the gun on that, so fall back into this. Everybody could just bow their heads and close their eyes, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we all thank you for just bringing everybody here as one this wonderful morning. Past couple weeks have been rough, just not as a individual, but as a group, as a society, as a country, as a whole. All these people here uniquely have individual talents, and we just are so blessed that you brought everyone in this nice room, both in person and through technology. God, we just ask you just keep on bathing us in your faithfulness and your guidance, and all of us to become successful in your eyes. In your name, Lord, amen.
Amen.
I actually taken care of.
So that's a great. What Allie had a lot of words. I hope you could gravitate on some of those words, but part of what Nick referred to as well in the prayer is that that what we're doing, we believe, is a sacred work. And the seeds that we plant and we build as a community are sacred. All this is a sacred work that we're doing. You think back into Genesis, and we were talking about that this morning, again in Genesis, that then the first occupation was a gardener, right? Yeah, so that's good. So we're in there, and then there's just lots of great examples throughout the scriptures, and we believe that this is a noble profession, noble work, noble endeavors. And it becomes more and more apparent as the more we find out about our food and practices, our soils, and where we are. So this is a network. This is think of this as a giant roundtable discussion of people and lives coming together. Lots of experiences. Some are new. Some are returning to this field as a second, third, or fourth, or fifth career kind of thing. But I think we have three generations represented in this room, and so this is an exciting time to be a part of what we're doing. Let me back up. There's two key words in this. The first one is regenerative. So we'll talk a little bit about that today. We'll see a lot about that today as we take a tour. But regenerative, the first two letters re. So there's a return back to something, and it's the generation of the land and the generation of the community. The regenerative is think of just restoration. Some people call it conservation agriculture, but what we're talking about is the restoration of relationships, not just people relationships, not just relationship with the soil, but you can think of the supply chain, and communities are very important. And the second word is resilient, and resilient is a great word because it means can take on anything and it's not going to destroy me. So this community, this agriculture, it's resistant against stresses and forces that want to kill the plant, basically. That's just going to happen as part of nature. And so a healthy community that is resilient, not just a plant system, but a community, it's going to take a village to restore these things. So that's what we are. So here's the problem that we found ourselves in probably the last 100 years or so, and they call it conventional agriculture now. And so conventional agriculture is heavily tillage based, destroying the soil. You think of plowing, disking, tilling, just breaking that soil structure down. And it's actually over tilling. Ali mentioned monoculture, these large one system farms. That's not mimicking nature. You go into the woods, there's all kinds of diverse species that you see in the forest. So monocultures. And then with these systems, we're so focused on production that we've introduced all kinds of chemicals to make this thing highly productive. And now we're finding out these are toxic, not just to the plant, but to us as we consume the food. And then you look at a lot of pasture land, grazing is overgrazing. So it's not really working with Mother Nature, we would say. We're working against her. We're trying to conquer her. We're living off the land and not living with the land. So that's the problem that we face. We damage, decrease in nutrient density of 1900. The equivalent of that now is you've got to eat 5. Apples. So, and that's a pretty big switch. Those apples. You think the more food that we have, decrease in water retention. There's just don't hold water like they used to. We see it working in the soil, and we do jumping jacks. I found think of that as a currency in the health of your soil. The more you find, the better your soil is. And also with climate change, this issue forms to massive droughts, lots of climate change droughts, and we can't resist drought. We see an increase in root rot in our plants, increase in pest problems. Plant wilt, discoloration. That's all signs of with. So what's the solution? To cover that soil, to armor that soil so we don't have evaporators that have to have inputs, but they support not just plant production. I hunted in the Mississippi Delta for over 20 years, and they are heavily chemical based. And that was some of the zones in Mississippi Mississippi Delta now. The overuse of chemicals. And then things like companion planting. What can we plant alongside of this as a system, not just a one thing? Great documentary. I urge you to check this out called Kiss the Ground. This thing's been around, I think, about 6 years. The common ground about 3 or 4 years ago. Food. So people would say to me, because we pay attention to the soil. So that's where it all starts. Food. And you got in this garden, you know, the pleasure is to go out there, pick something to eat, you know, within hours, and it actually has. And you know, creates memories, if you will. I remember several years ago, one of our neighbors came over to eat with us. I think we served carrots and broccoli. One mouthful smell is all the good stuff. So, but that all begins in the ground. So this is a little bit of us. Proceed. Yeah, so just a quick slideshow. So we're 23 acres here on this property, and we have about 5.5 or 6 acres in production. Blackberries, blueberries. We do events. This is a slide thing all over the place, so my talk doesn't match this things you're seeing. There's some of our produce. That's my son and daughter-in-law holding up a turnip from last year. So yeah, we do events. We host events that cultivate spiritual growth and renewal. There's a women's retreat going on at the other building. You guys are here today. We have a big church service here on Sunday. We do 25 weddings a year. We have corporate retreats. We do trainings and teachings with the extension service. We have local partners like the Lake Community Church Garden of Grace. It's a new giant garden that Lisa's taken on. And helping her get that established. It's going to support food pantries with fresh vegetables. And praise God for you for being obedient. And we work with Southern Prep, and they're returning that land back to Dr. Lyman Ward had in the 1890s of agriculture. We work with the Tallapoosa County Girls Ranch, as I mentioned, Matthew, and helping them. So we do a lot of training and teaching here, a lot of hands-on, and that's what we do. We grow our own seedling transplants for our gardens and bless others with the same. But when we started in 2011 as a missionary training center, we thought it was a good idea to start a little small farm to make some money to source the to source the ministry. And you know, it's kind of hard to make money in farming, right? So, but what we did was incorporate the farming into the aesthetics of the property. So people come through and think we've got grapevines and all this kind of cool stuff. Oh, no, those are blackberries. But we do try to maintain a look here that feeds into the aesthetics here. We have a small apiary on the back hill. That was a swarm we caught last year. Those are our blackbirds. That's what they're supposed to look like. We'll go into that later, why they don't look like that now. But tomatoes, and we do some great vegetables here, and just try to really practice some good health. But pay a lot of attention to the soil of what we're doing here. So that's a good bit of what we do here. But not Robert Montgomery. That's an old cycling friend of mine, David Montgomery, and Bickley, his wife. David is a geologist and is a biologist. They've teamed up and they've written several books together. This is a really good one. I highly recommend. It will take a long time to read. Nick took it 3 months ago and gave it back and goes, "Oh my gosh." It took me about 8 months to read this book, What Your Food Ate. And it is eye-opening. It's a lot to process. I mean, a lot of really big words in there, but it really talks about what is in our food. And it's basically what's in our soil. It's getting into the food, it's getting into us. And it's a really great book. But how we treat the land affects how it in turn treats us. So there's this symbiotic relationship that we obviously have with the earth. And we've mistreated the earth for a long time now. We're bearing the brunt of that in our health. Couple of quick facts. The per capita spend on healthcare in the United States is $26,000 a year per person per year. There's statistics depending on which one you read. Senior adults age 65 and older, I got one more year on there, average of 14 to 16 prescriptions a year. That's what we're dealing with. And we're the number one ag country in the world. and the number one spend on healthcare. So we've got this thing that's happened that's created a crisis. And a lot of it is we've looked at the land as a commodity and not as a resource. And we improperly stewarded that opportunity. Franklin Roosevelt in 1937, on the heels of the Dust Bowl, wrote to all the governors in America with this leading sentence that says, "A nation that destroys its soil destroys itself." And there's a great Ken Burns documentary on the Dust Bowl. I highly encourage you to watch that as well. What we did to our soils, we're still paying for that now. The mass, actually, Ken Burns says the largest human migration in American history was the Dust Bowl. I mean, that was the massive California and, Colorado influx that moved out of the Dust Bowl. And, the dust storms that came, and you get pictures of like buried cars and all that's still happening today. I mean, last year there were several major highway accidents from dust storms because you had the land exposed. And so we've kind of reaped what we've sown, right? I mean, we've destroyed our soil and we're paying for it still. So here at Newater, what happened here is one of our cash crops are Kiowa blackberries. We have an acre and a third of trellis blackberries, and we make jams and jellies with those berries. People we sell fresh berries. And when I came to the farm as farm manager in 2023, they hadn't been managed well, but they were doing okay. They weren't doing well. Our harvest rate was probably in the 16 to 1,800 pounds, or it should have been 3,000 pounds. So we had a production issue. And I babied those things. I said, I'm going to get them back. I'm going to get them back. And that went well. I mean, we got up to 1,860 pounds of production, but we still had a lot of bare wire because we trellised the berry on the wire. We had a lot of bare wire, so it wasn't doing what it's supposed to do. So the next year, that dormant year, I spent a lot of time training the plants and doing all the stuff I was supposed to do, putting all the fertilizers on. I didn't do the sprays because I didn't think I did a couple of sprays, but those were all synthetics. And it was amazing. We had 100% coverage in one block and struggled across the street here in this block. And the other one was about 65, 70% coverage. And then all of a sudden, it just nosedived. And we ended up with only 1,250 pounds of production because we had a spore outbreak of yellow rust fungus. You can't spray when you got berries and people are eating the berries. You can't spray. But the recommendation was all these sprays to put on to prevent the fungus. And because we couldn't contain it, the recommendation was to pull them out, pull the roots out, burn everything, and leave the land fallow for 3 years. That's pretty tough. That's our cash crop. So I met Scotty. Scotty said, you need to meet Tom Strickland. Tom came out, spent a half a day with me. We looked at the blackberries, and he said, I think we have a solution. Magnesium hydroxide nanoplate. Then he went to this long scientific discussion, which is great. I mean, he dumbed it down for me, but I got it. And so we began testing. And he said, we've seen this outbreak in strawberries in Florida. We treated it and we knocked it out. So we began aggressively treating our blackberries. We were at the end of the season, and these are every other year. And so you take the old canes out, you let the new ones come up. And so the picture you're seeing on the left is before treatment. And so you can see all the spores on these leaves. You got somewhat production there, but what happens is it basically kills the leaves. Photosynthesis shuts down. It may not kill the plant, but obviously the plant's in a really, really serious health deprived state. So we nosedived, and so we began treating with the magnesium, and then I met Buck, and we found this foliar fertilizer with lower traces of nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, which is great, and about 10 trace elements, other elements in the foliar spray. And then our number one pests are deer, and so we found a commercially available deer repellent, and these were all liquid products that I could put in my tank, make one pass, and spray. So we were spraying every 7 to 10 days to knock this rust out. And then this on the right is the new growth. And you can see it's dark green, it's lush. We don't have an incidence of the rust. And so we were in good shape. And so that was last year. That was after 1 year. We'll look at it today. We have it's still a little bit there, but nothing like what it was. We've got it contained. We've knocked it down, and we actually added another fungicide to boost it. We've done a soil drench last week. We'll start spraying again with the magnesium tomorrow. We had to dodge some rain events for that, but we feel really good about. We didn't have to burn our plants. We were able to save them. And so that's what we've done with the Kiowa blackberry. But wanted to show you some other trials. This is what Scotty's done over at Oak Hill Farms, his farm. Last year, he bought some. These are store-bought kale transplants. So the one on the left is untreated. The two on the right, actually, there is two on the left. I always miss that bottom one. It's so small. Planted at the same time. These are kale that were treated with the magnesium and the NutriPlant on the right, and you can see the size difference. I always say, you might can get a little baby salad out of the one on the left, but you can feed a little, you have a couple of good salads out of that one. So, hold on a second. So, no comparison really in that change of that. So, treated, untreated with the magnesium and the NutriPlant. Similarly, he did this with cabbage, a transplant. You can see the size difference. We estimate Barry thinks it's 400% larger. It's already headed up. The one on the left, it's just some leaves. So big difference between treated and untreated there on the cabbage. This is a really interesting with sunflowers. These are the oilseed, black oilseed sunflowers, just commercially purchased. The one on the left is untreated. And this at 35 days of growth, the flowers are about 15 inches high, and there are no flowers on those sunflowers. Same day of planting, direct seed into the soil, 35 days of growth with treated with the magnesium and the NutriPlant. You got flowering, you've got buds fixing to braid on this other set, and they're almost twice as tall. So the takeaway for this one is half the growth time and twice the maturity with treating these. So this is a soil treatment and a spray. Yeah. So you can see the difference there. Sunflowers have responded. These are Roma tomatoes. Roma tomatoes, these were started from seed in our greenhouse. And so untreated on the left, these are planted the same day. Again, with the magnesium and the NutriPlant, you can see the size difference in the tomato plant on the right. We didn't even try to guess the difference in that one, but tremendous growth. So side by side, planted the same day, exact same age, big difference there. This is one Better Boy tomato plant, a hybrid. After 90 days, he stopped counting at 350 tomatoes, which we did a little Google. That's about 7 bushels of tomatoes off of one plant. And he's what, 5'10"? So no pruning. That's one plant with so that was treated with the NutriPlant. And did you NutriPlant and the magnesium on this one?
Just magnesium.
Just the magnesium. Yeah. This is probably our best story. So obviously with Alabama weather, 90 degrees, intense heat, high humidity, Scotty had pre-treated this bell pepper plant with the magnesium and foliar sprayed the NutriPlant, but kept the water off of it for 7 days. So, I mean, if you do that to your bell pepper plant in those conditions, it's going to obviously wilt. It looks kind of dead. There's everything's just bad looking. But then after 20 days, just began rewatering this pre-treated plant, and Lazarus has come back to life. He's come out of the tomb, and things greened up. The leaves aren't curled anymore, and there's production. So no additional treatment, but because that plant was treated. Remember we talked about stress resistant and resilience. So here is a resilient plant that had been pre-treated, and now it gets re-watered, rehydrated, and it's back to being a healthy plant. So bell peppers typically, if you have experience with bell peppers, you always think you're going to get a bunch of peppers, and you usually get about 12 to 15 on a commercially purchased plant. That's kind of the norm. 15 is probably a little generous. So here's an untreated plant. generated about 15 bell peppers. This is just treated with magnesium hydroxide. One plant, again, Scotty probably quit counting at 325 bell peppers on one plant in one season. So you can see how heavily clustered they are. And the other part of that is there are new blooms. These kind of, once they start, they kind of don't make any more blooms.
Yep.
So what this is amazing to me, because we planted 100 peppers the other day, Leo. Just think if you had 100 treated pepper plants, so put 2 zeros, that's 32,000 peppers. Probably feeds a large community, right? But then think about the other part of that. In our food deserts, in our urban situations where fresh, healthy vegetables are hard to get, people just don't have access to that healthy, nutrient-dense food. But let's just say I have one plant and it makes 325. I live in maybe a apartment complex or a closed community or gated housing projects. I could have one pepper plant. My neighbor has the squash plant. The other neighbor has the tomato plant. That's enough food for a pretty good community. And it's not like the 325 come in at one time. It's going to be spread throughout the season. So you've got a readily long, accessible opportunity to fresh vegetables with very minimal effort. I don't need a garden. I don't need a tractor. I don't need land. I need a big pot to put this in.
And one thing I do want to stress out about too, last slide, he just showed with bell peppers, after stressing them out, they were still producing fruit.
Can he read some of that?
Yeah, I can read all of
Let me see.
that.
He's excited too about it.
Here's the other difference, and this is size. So this guy, I can never read that. Is that ounces, grams? What is that? Doesn't matter what it is. The untreated bell pepper on the left is 3.87. The one on the treated one on the right is 7.81, almost double the size. And then the coloration, which is normal because that's maturity, is there. This is just kind of your kind of store looking bell pepper. Now, here's the really interesting thing. This is from that drought. This is from Lazarus. This is from the drought stressed plant. And see the size? We would have called it dead. I probably would have pulled it out of the ground. But rehydrating it, it's come back to life and is now producing peppers twice as big as an untreated plant. So, and it's sweeter, tastier. One of the first meals that we did here, we made something that had peppers in it, and Barry said, "These things are really sweet." And I'm like, "Those are the peppers out of the garden with the magnesium on it." This year, I'll get into that later, but we're going to actually measure more of our sugar content, do some nutrient testing more on the bricks sugar level to confirm a lot of this. One thing I did this past winter, Scotty and I were raising Jimmy Red heirloom corn out at his farm, and I saved the seed back because it's heirloom non-GMO. I can plant those seeds, and we're going to get corn again. I was just trying to say, well, is that true or not? What's the germination rate? I was interested in germination. This stuff come up. So I did a control, which was untreated, and then I soaked the seeds for 48 hours, and then I put them in seed cell pack. And then when they got about that tall, I pulled them out. And the 3 on the left are untreated seeds. They just gone to the ground with water, and the 3 on the right were seeds soaked with the magnesium out of the sample, so random sample. And you can see the difference in the root mass, but also it's important to note the soil that's clinging to those roots. It's actually the hyphae, the mycorrhizal fungi that have extended out, and they're holding that soil with that root. These are just kind of almost bare. They don't have that contact that the soil stays in the root mass. So deeper roots, more roots, that's more opportunity for water uptake. And again, we're back to resilience. Yes, sir, Matthew.
Doesn't it go further, that long one in the middle?
This one right here?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's actually past the piece of paper. The longest one I found it's right there, but it's just one little tiny little root. But notice how long that is, and it's just multiple roots. So you've got a lot more surface area for water and nutrient uptake. So that's going to generate a much healthier plant. So really, real quickly. So with what we're seeing, what we know to be true, is an aside. Magnesium is the center of the chlorophyll atom. It's very important for photosynthesis. It's also important as a conduit for nutrient uptake and root exudates for the plant. So it's building a healthier soil and a healthier plant, and obviously a healthier fruit. So we see greater root mass, stronger stalks, stronger stems in our plants, more nutrient uptake. It's more resilient to pathogens, pests, and diseases. So you realize that pests typically attack the weaker plants. They don't attack the healthy, strong ones. They're going to go for the weak ones, the stressed ones. That's where your pests are going to be. And that's everything from bugs to whatever, funguses to, I mean, whatever. They're going to go after the weak ones. And also, the soil health and the mycorrhizal fungi networks, we talked about some in here, these plants are connected. In the forest when a tree has offspring, seeds, those offspring are connected to the mother plant. And when research has shown this, that when that new seedling is stressed, the mother plant knows it, and she'll send out extra nutrients that seedling can survive. There's a research study done up in the state of Washington on fungal networks, and there was one that was over 200 miles long. They found that all these plants were connected, and they actually introduced a signal at one end of it, and within less than 10 seconds, it responded at the other end of the fungal network. So I used to think that was a bunch of voodoo and nerdy tree hugger stuff. And I'm like, wow, I have really missed the boat here. But the healthier our soils is, the more these plants are healthy, they're going to be developing through networks. Even our annuals are doing that. So these bigger root masses are the really fine root hairs, hyphae, are extended out to other plants. And they will talk to each other and say, hey, I'm getting attacked over here. Y'all need to, go on the defense here. That's true stuff. Science is proven that's true. And so that's a healthier plant that's going to be able to be resilient and take on those stresses. Obviously, if you have a healthy plant, you're going to have healthy fruit. And we like to say healthy soil makes healthy plants, makes healthy fruit, makes healthy people. So larger fruits, more flavorful, sweeter and richer, more buds. So you're going to have more fruit production. And the other thing too, and Scotty's got some stories about this. Tom has some stories about this stuff actually lasts longer. You can leave it longer in your refrigerator. I think you said 3 or 4 weeks for strawberries.
21 days.
21 days. And the store-bought stuff, 3 days, it's rotten. You got to throw in the compost pile.
It would have been longer, but talking about the size and the quantity it grows. We got a grower in New York he's testing me with some grapes and some apples and stuff, but he also has a small garden. It's about half the size of this room, and where he lives, that's all he's got. That's all the land he's got. 4 years ago, I got him to put it on his garden, and he had walk area between rows that you could get into. As it grew, that year he had more than he could use, and he incorporated another neighbor, which just his wife and him and his wife come in, and they were gathering. Now it's been 4 years, and the second week in February, he brought some pictures up and showed it to me. He's feeding 5 households on that same garden, and all of them now are emerging into, this is a community garden. He put fences up so that the cucumbers and the running stuff can go up the fences on the edge, as well as zucchinis and squash and tomatoes and peppers, and they eat the hot stuff up there too. But it looks like if it's down south, it'd be dangerous to go into because of the snakes. You've got no room. They have tightened up the roads so close that you've got no room. You just have to work your way through. But even now, when he said February, he said, now we've got to get some more people to come in because they're putting up all they want to put up when the garden is gone. and it's still left. I have one little garden, and the only thing he's doing different is he's treating it with magnesium.
Yeah.
It works, guys. That's the 4th year, and it's getting better and better and better. The soil, his soil samples are getting better and better and better. It feels it. You're talking about the earthworm up there. You can rake anywhere in that garden, and you get enough to fish off of. It was amazing to go up the second time and look at it.
Wow. Yeah. So testimony to increased harvest. So 17 to Barry's estimate of 400%. I mean, that
Cabbage is unreal.
Yeah. So yeah. So here's this issue too: 1 to 4 additional harvests per season. So obviously up north, that's cold up there, and you still got stuff growing. But
They don't have the growing cycle that we got.
yeah. So this is the number 4 in here is interesting because this is one of our friends down in South Alabama on this muscadines, treated his muscadines with the magnesium. He had 4 separate fruit sets. Muscadines, you usually get 1. They'll bloom. You get the muscadines or scuppernons. He got 3 additional blooms and fruit sets. He was harvesting muscadines past the frost. So think about what Tom is saying. If I'm planting a giant garden the size of this room, and I can cut it in half, and now I'm feeding 4 families with half the effort. Carl's picking muscadines forever. He doesn't have to plant a ton of them, right?
Like you said, it's the condition of the soil.
Yeah. And obviously this decrease in loss of fruit. Scotty's one of the other parts I failed to mention was some of the we have with the humidity we have in Alabama, we get a scale on our peppers and tomatoes, and with the magnesium treated, they didn't have that. They didn't have a scale.
They do have a yellow spot in New York, and he was plagued with it every year since he's been there. He's been there for years. When he started using the magnesium, that went away. He didn't tell me this, but 4 years later, and he said, "Oh yeah," I told him about the rot. He said, "Oh, yeah, we had a yellow spot, but now we don't have any." On the eggplants, they have a rot that a woody. What do you call it, Scott?
It's just
Anyway, they don't have that anymore. Not
Because
in that garden. Just down the road where somebody else. Yes.
Yeah. So let me do a quick what we're here at New Water. We're spraying the magnesium. Obviously, all the things we just talked about, we're trying to do. We were just trying to beat this yellow rust. We got our blackberries. It's spores, and the wind blows and they just over the whole orchard. I mean, it's like overnight. So we're trying to increase these stress tolerances, boost resistance, increase chlorophyll and photosynthesis, so we have more production. Won't get into a lot of the science here, but as Tom has already mentioned, the magnesium hydroxide nanoplate, the most purest form of magnesium there is. It's a supplement and a soil augmentation. It's not a fertilizer. And it balances the pH of our soils, accelerates growth, and it doesn't leach or just dissipate. A lot of our synthetic fertilizers we use, they leach out. They go away. What I'm interested here is we have a really, really excessive high phosphorus content in our soils. We're right here on the lake, and it could be problematic for the lake, for the water. E. coli, I mean, it's really bad. So we're working with Alabama Water Quality to try to figure that one out. And we're going to actually be doing some testing to monitor what's going in the lake off of our land to make sure that we're doing the right thing. So it does reduce the need for microbials and pesticides because, as Tom said, this makes the plant healthier. I don't have to go spray a bunch of stuff. And obviously the increase in yield. We're also looking at a different magnesium source. We're just kind of in the early stages of this. The thing about this one is it has several other things in it. So it's not pure magnesium. So it's kind of been hard to compare side by side, but it's got sulfur, boron, cobalt, molybdenum, which is going to do some things like cell wall strength and bud set and those kinds of things. So it's not a one-to-one comparison. But there are other magnesium sources out there. It's just not as good as the magnesium nanoplate. It's the purest form. We also began foliar sprays. We moved away from synthetic fertilizers. This last year was the last year we put those out. So this year we've gone away from synthetic fertilizers. Those are petroleum based, things like triple 13, triple 16 blends of calcium nitrate, all those kind of things that are manufactured, and we timed that just right. So I don't know if you're aware that the fertilizer prices went up significantly the last month. If you've gone to the store to buy some, 50 to 70% increase, and no slowing down in mine. So we are spraying, and Jennifer's going to talk some about it too, the NutriPlant's AG 643, which is a really, I'd love it because I like to say it's kind of idiot proof. You know, you can't like burn your plant up if you do a bunch of nitrogen on it. And it's just our plants have responded really, really well to it. So it's a liquid product that I can mix it with some other things and make one pass. And so it's time saving for us and less equipment in the field. It's got a lot of trace elements in it, and it's going to strengthen your plants. It's produce higher yields, and all these other things that come out of a healthy plant. Obviously, better produce, and then obviously resistant to stress. So this NutriPlant AG 643, 6% nitrogen, 4% phosphorus, 3% potassium or potash. But it's also got all these other things, sulfur. And there's the list there, and those are, we'll talk about a little bit of that when we go out in the field. But those are necessary for specific times of the plant, whether it's budding or fruit set. Those are needed at certain times. Again, it's foliar sprayed, so we can spray an acre here at the farm in about 45 minutes. One thing I want to say about the synthetic fertilizers, the pellets, we had one of our blackberry orchards. We had landscape fabric on it, and it was becoming a maintenance nightmare because we couldn't keep it weeded. The Bermuda grass would go underneath, and it just went crazy. And when we pulled that fabric out, we found some undissolved fertilizers there that hadn't broken down yet, water-based fertilizers sitting there on top of the soil.
What's he used for filtering fertilizer?
Yes, sir.
Rock.
Yeah.
It could be what you see in instead of rock.
No, it was little pellets. Yeah, it really was. So that was a little eye opener for us. Yeah. So it's like I said, for me, my description of it is idiot proof. You can spray it on whenever, and you're not going to burn your plant up because it's such a great balanced fertilizer. But Jennifer can get into some of that later. Our deer repellent is commercially bought. I buy it at Tractor Supply. It's called Liquid Fence. It is made from eggs and garlic, and you mix those two together with a couple other things, and it smells horrible. I can't imagine. The deer hate it. So Scotty and Nick put it out on our watermelons. They put out about 1,400 watermelon cantaloupe transplants in the last 2 weeks, and so they put it out. And they have stayed away from our crops more and more from what we're doing here. Matthew, go ahead.
Earlier you talked about the pests go for weaker plants since we're talking about pellets. Were you going to get to the insect thing? How insects eat other insects?
I'm not sure. Oh yeah, Matthew's asking about the good bug, bad bug. So the ratio that I learned was for every one bad bug, there's 1,700 good bugs. So typically pesticides are not necessarily non-discriminate. So when you spray for that bug, you're going to kill all the bugs. So the other part about these healthy plants is they're creating a healthy biosystem. And so they're going to attract more good bugs that eat the bad bugs. And so the story I like to tell, last summer with our farm hands here, we were in the garden picking peas, and we saw 3 different species of wasps in those peas. And so they were like, oh my gosh, we got to get some spray to kill all the wasps. I'm like, oh, time out. Why do you think the wasps were here? So they were actually kind of predator wasps, and they were firstly drawn because when you pick a pea, that sugar from that plant's coming out right at that where you broke it off, and so that they're eating. But the other thing they eat are aphids. So you wanted to kill the wasps, they're eating the aphids, which are bad for agriculture. And we didn't have to spray anything. We let the wasps come in. So those healthy plant systems promote a better, healthier biosystem. So great question. Thank you, Matthew. But yeah, our big pests are deer. They love to come in and munch and just eat stuff from a buffet. And so you can build a giant fence, but we can't really afford that. So we've gone to a foliar spray against deer repellent. It does smell bad. I wouldn't spray it around your house because it does linger for a while, but it's kept our deer at bay. It's called liquid fence. It's concentrate. We don't mix it to their recommendation because it is a little bit pricey, but just a little bit goes a long way. One thing that happened to me was I used to spray it with a backpack sprayer, and the hose came out the back end of the backpack sprayer, went all down my backside. My wife said, "You are never coming in the house." So, but yeah, it's plant safe, eco friendly. We spray it kind of around a bunch of rains we'll get, we'll reapply, but it has kept our deer at bay these last, especially over the winter. We didn't see very many deer, and we were surprised. So yeah, it's a great great plant. So yes, sir.
Are you still looking at having your own brand of that?
We're trying to maybe develop our own brand of deer repellent. So we'll be collecting eggshells and garlic from everybody. But yeah, and probably somebody a long time ago, our grandparents or somebody, they probably made their own out of that, and somebody figured out we could make money selling this. But you know, you know, 75 years ago, they didn't have a Tractor Supply or a big box store to go to. They figured out stuff themselves. And a story I like to tell is when I weed, because I'm old, I like to get down on all fours, and I have to keep getting up and going down. And somebody was like, "Well, you need to get coyote urine out here to kill, keep the deer away." And I'm going, "Okay, I might try that." And so I'm weeding along, and I'm going, "We have a lot of coyotes." I was like, "Man, I smell coyote urine out here in the blackberry patch." And I'm going, "That's crazy." And I look down, there's a pile of deer poop right beside her. I can smell it. I'm like, I don't think that's going to work. So, but anyway, we've had great success with the deer repellent. But the invitation to become a beta tester with the magnesium and the NutriPlant and kind of the system, and let's see, Buck can help you out there, and Scotty and Nick and probably Jennifer can help you navigate some of that, how to be that, to do that. We've got some ways that you can purchase some of that through us. And then Allie likes to call this the honorable mention. So I began adding more biologics to our system as I got away from synthetics. The last thing we're going to wean ourselves off of is we're really trying hard. It's going to be hard as glyphosate, and we have limited where we spray that. We've gone more to burning things with propane torches and actually using our hands to get rid of the weeds, as opposed to that quick fix of, my friend says, it's easier to reach for that cocktail, and just blast it with glyphosate. But that stuff drifts, and there are more and more studies coming out showing the detrimental effects of glyphosate. I actually had an extension agent tell me that it's dead when it hits the ground. I'm like, okay, what? It's dead when it hits the ground, but the plant uptakes and I eat the plant. Really? So anyway, that's a side story. But I started Advanced Eco Agriculture as a biologics firm in Pennsylvania. And so I supplemented what we're doing here with some of these biologics. So C-stem, which is from C-shield, derived from sea kelp, and really help the fungi and the plants develop these strengths to be resilient against the pathogens. Holocal, which is a supplemental calcium that's going to go on at certain times of the year, and then Rejuvenate, which is helps break down the organic matter in the soil to make it more accessible to the fungi and the good guys. There's an organic micro 5000 organic that's again a foliar from sea plants, so you're building that microbial health in the soil. We've started doing some compost teas from earthworm castings and do soil drenches. We did all our blackberries with the soil drench. We have some earthworms, so we collect the castings, put them in a big bucket with rainwater, and aerate it for 48 hours. Then we'll dump it on the plant, and we're seeing some good results of that. The other thing we do that's not necessarily people may consider as an input are mulching and cover cropping. I want to show you guys the benefits of that today. Quickly, you're adding, we don't till a lot here. We do very minimal tilling. We add compost and mulch at the top layer when we turn a bed. and we just let it sit. We don't even incorporate it into the soil. You think about, nobody tills the forest. The leaves fall and the soil builds, after that. So all that stuff works. Kind of when I started, I talked about the restoration of relationships, and we're at an interesting time, I see, in our community, in our nation. Things going on, and there's just been a really gravitation towards individualism. Any word with ISM at the end is probably bad. It's individualism, and people just have lost their relational strength within a community. And so this is really true about farm, and this is a great quote. A farm is nothing without the community that supports it. So things like today, that's why it's really important. We'll all walk away with at least one nugget of truth that we learned today. What's happening in a lot of this regenerative agriculture is relationships are being stored, not just like the supply chain. Families are being healed, coming together. One of the greatest stories I heard was the farming community has always helped one another, but it's been typically reactive to a tragedy. My combine burned down, caught on fire and burned up, and I got a harvest. So all the farmers would get together and get their combines. That was reactive. That's a good thing. But now they're being proactive and working together, sharing resources, learning together. I went to a conference in Kansas of about 150 farmers there, and multi-generations, fifth, sixth, seventh generation, new farmers, people coming back to the farm, and they're all leaning in and trying to figure out how to farm better. And it was put on by a company called Green Cover, and they sell cover seeds, cover crop seeds, and their whole mission is to leave a legacy for the next generation. And that's just a great testimony to what's happening. Podcast and all those other resources are great from an individual. Leo, and I think sometimes in Matthew's here, we watch things together, and we learn together. And that's what it's going to take. It's going to take people working together to support it. And so that's one thing that we're doing today. So it's exciting. If you think back, I don't know, Tom might be the only one here that lived through something, a major war. And are you that old, Tom? So, but there were things called victory gardens, and people planted small gardens because they didn't have access to food, and they worked together. And I don't know why we went away from that. I really don't. And particularly the story that he had of the guy that half the size of this room, are you kidding me, feeds 4 families. That's and not just like one crop. I mean, it's ongoing. That's just amazing. But this is actually a real picture. This isn't an AI thing. This, when I see community garden, at least you're probably frothing over here going, that is amazing. That's probably a high dollar investment, I'm imagining. But see the small plots, and that's doable. And they've just replicated small plots. So that's in North Carolina. But we just want to say it's all about the soil.
We want to touch up on that. You just said park gardens. Anyway, from out west, they're doing a lot more of this now than building parks. That has to do with a bunch of the oil regulations too. They're being capped off, and you can't park within a couple of 100 feet, but they can put vegetative growth as part of the California regrowth program. So these are happening left and right. So the parks now, they're building gardens. It really hasn't done so much. Communities have been a bunch of me, and not we. I think one of the best things in the written is we, the people. Not me, not I, we. Just like the speech I give about being a zero. We're all here zeros, which individually a zero is worthless. But behind each one, we work together. That number becomes so great. Nothing can be stopped. But these are being popped up in a lot of urban areas too. And I think it's a great thing that it's bringing people back together. Your neighborhood is back together where Paul or Sally or Joe. Before, neighbors didn't know each other at all. It's still like that. Block parties have gone away. Fourth and just everything. So this is becoming really cool to see both products. Everything we do here can help boom this startup. So
Yeah. So what Nick said was in California that they've stopped building parks and they're building community gardens and bringing people back together. I heard a quote that said the smartest person in the room is the group. So you can think about the power of group thinking. So yeah. Yes, sir, Barry.
Think about all you're talking about. This could be a catalyst for really transformation in communities. If you look at doing this, especially in disadvantaged communities, in Atlanta, a lot of places where a house has either been torn down or needs to be torn down because it's such a bad neighborhood, and that nothing's happening with that. That could become a center for the people in the community to come together, fellowship, have positive experiences that probably even help reduce the crime amongst youth and things like that. This could be a really big part of what we do. Need to really examine that.
So what Barry's talking about that there's an opportunity in some disadvantaged communities, crime and all those other things to bring people together that, as Nick has said, didn't know each other. Personal story about that. Our church, and when I lived in Birmingham, adopted a community in outside of Birmingham, high crime. It was a really bad place. And actually the city deeded our group 2 city lots, and we established a community garden that did that very thing, brought people together that normally wouldn't do it. It brought some of the outsiders in that would never even gone down there. And also it sourced the grocery store that was available for disadvantaged folks to get fresh vegetables at. So it works. It takes
Concept in the 60 years old. Back in the 60s and 70s and even before, in the communities that I grew up in the Appalachian Mountains, there were what they call community centers. That was the focus, other than the church, the community center was the focus of everything. We didn't have a community garden thing. But if you expanded that community garden into a community center and community recreational type area, benefit everyone, I think that would be something that really make a difference.
one guy that's connected to this group as well is not here today, but is the HOA president of a small community in South Atlanta. I think there's 320 homes, and the community's at odds over something. And his proposal has been to create a garden to bring the people together. So we'll work with them to establish a community garden to restore those relationships, and people can eat healthy as well. So to your point, Barry, awesome. Yeah. So team up with us. We're a community. I can see everybody, lots of head shaking going on some of these ideas. We want to shift what's happening. And the saying is start small, start now. We can start where you are. Start with your patio garden. Invite your neighbor over for a meal and give them some fresh vegetables. But yeah, one thing is revitalize, renew, and sustain our soil without the deadly ides, fungicide, herbicide, pesticide, think genocide. I mean, all the ides are bad. Isms and ides are bad. But look at it as a system. It's not just to dump this on this plant and you're going to get this thing to happen. You've got to start with the system. So looking at the system, and that's the regenerative model that we have embraced here at New Water. So context is important. We can talk about how to grow tomato plants, but if I'm living in Africa, that's probably not going to work. So you got to look at your context. What's your growing zone? What are your challenges? What's your soil type? All those kind of things. And then things like crop diversity, moving things around. Just don't plant the same thing every year in the same space. Cover crop, armor the soil, keep it covered, and keep a living root in the ground all the time because it's sequestering the carbon and the nitrogen out of the air. It's free fertilizer. I want to tell y'all, we had an incredible electric thunderstorm, lightning storm here last night, and my wife said, I know you're excited because it's releasing the urea in the air. It's dumping fertilizer on our property. So things like that, but looking at it as a system. Yeah. So Bill, you had a question.
Yes, it's from Zoom. Want to know, does anyone have the ratio of magnesium to NutriPlant?
I can give that to them, but it'll take me a second in my mind. Yeah, I'll answer them later. I have to think about it real quick.
Email.
Yeah.
If you can show that.
Yeah, we'll get your ratio question answered by the end of the day. I've just got to put my mind to it a little bit. But yeah. So yeah, stewardship, a a lot of times people think stewardship is like being a custodian. You're taking care of something. That's an okay definition, but anybody can manage a mess, right? I've got this disaster. I'm in charge of the disaster. I'll manage that disaster. So really, I think a better, this came out of the group, we should make things better. So we are stewards of the land. We should make it better. We should leave it better than we found it. And you think about your children and grandchildren, you want to leave something better to them, not a mess. So that's what we're stewarding: the land, the water, and the community. So restoring those relationships. If you're interested, here's a couple of good ways to get started. I never had heard of, barely heard of Joe Rogan several years ago. My neighbor who um, cut hair, he said, "Hey, you're kind of into gardening. You ought to check out this Joe Rogan podcast." I'm like, "Who is Joe Rogan?" He said, "Yeah, he's interviewed this guy named Will Harris." I'm like, "Never heard of that guy." Will Harris was a fifth generation cattle farmer in Bluffton, Georgia, and did things the way his daddy did it, the way his granddaddy did it. And he said he woke up one day and realized his motivation was, what am I going to kill today? Is it a cow? Is it a bug? Is it a weed? And he said, wait, I'm in the life business. Something's not right here. So he made a switch to transform his farm over 25 years to a regenerative farm. Now he had 3 employees at the time. Now they have 180 employees. They ship beef to 48 states, largest employer in the poorest county in the state of Georgia. And his farm is not beautiful. It's not pristine, but it is productive and very, very diverse. And they've been able to spin off and start several other companies within the farm because they went this regenerative approach. Joel Salatin's been around a while, Polyface Farms in the Blue Ridge Mountains, Stanton, Virginia, outside of Stanton, Virginia. And he did things like he invented the mobile chicken tractor. You guys have heard of that. Does intensive grazing, moves his cattle at least once a day. Pasture raised, all of his animals are pasture raised, no synthetics. And he's pretty popular right now, but if you can just Google Will Harris, you'll like Will Harris. He's just a good old Georgia boy. I mean, he talks, it's just fun listening to him talk. Those are 2 really, really good guys. And Leo asked me the second day he was here, hey, you got any podcasts I can listen to? Oh man, I loaded him up. So yeah, so but
Podcast changed Joe Rogan's whole entire outlook on being in his family. And Joe Rogan's been on a health kick.
yeah.
Just listening, he's always been a gym lover, fitness lover. Now it's whatever he puts into his body.
Yeah.
And this whole thing, he quotes Will Harris in a lot of his podcasts. Today, when he had him on RFK a couple weeks back, he quoted him about 8 or 9 times. Will Harris, you love it. Will Harris, he's a good old guy. He smokes cigars. He's a true-blooded American snack because he does stuff simple and basic. It goes back to a farming, and it works for him. I'm not saying it's going to work for everybody else, but for a one-person operation like Joe Rogan has for his family, he has plenty, and he'll give it to fighters. He'll give it to all his friends because he has plenty enough because the style's changed and it helps him out. So I will agree with you 110%. Will Harris is a character in himself, and Joe Rogan and him, they're fun to listen to. If you don't like podcasts, that's just them 2 being your first one because it's just a good fun time to listen to those guys.
There's lots of books. We've mentioned What Your Food Ate. There's a great book in the 40s from Evie Balfour. She was a soil scientist in the UK. She wrote a book called The Living Soil. I didn't bring my book collection today, but there's lots of great books on the topic now. Another good one is Dirt to Soil by a guy named Gabe Brown, cattle farmer up in South Dakota. He owned 5,000-6,000 acres. I mean, he's big time. He's another one of the big forces. There's some great documentaries. Kiss the Ground, To Which We Belong, which is more about land reclamation using cattle. And then Common Ground is another good one. I want to share this story. Last year, we showed Common Ground here at New Water. And there was a gentleman, I had not met him. He lives nearby. I would consider him one of our neighbors. And he asked a lot of questions. And I've gotten to know him a little bit through water monitoring. And we were in a focus group meeting yesterday with the Alabama State Board of Water Testing. And he said, hey, he's telling the group, he said, hey, I went to watch this movie called Common Ground at New Water. And, we're like really serious about water monitoring and what we're putting into the lake. This is here at Lake Martin. And he said that movie changed our life. We changed every way that we were doing our gardening. And what happened was that's the best garden in 60 years that we've ever had. So these are some great resources for you to look and maybe figure out the way you're doing things. You can stay in contact with us. I didn't let Scotty come up like I was supposed to. I think he was going to come talk about something. But Scotty Mangrum, I'm Robert. This is Nick. Just lots of folks involved in this. I'm not sure why just our two names are on the thing, but there's our contact information. Happy to stay in contact. A lot of times I get questions. I go, I have no idea. Like that question a while ago. I need to get zoned in on to answer that question correctly, but this is a big learning curve for all of us. My background is in agricultural engineering. I was in kind of the robotics, automation side of things. I took a detour into vocational ministry and HR, and now I'm back at where I wanted to be when I was a little boy, farming. So, and just loving it. Tell everybody I lost 25 pounds, dropped my resting heart rate 15 points, and I have no medication. So, go farm. I'm going to let Jennifer Deaton come forward. Jennifer's a new friend and has been to several of our network meetings, and she's going to talk specifically about NutriPlant and the opportunity. And they can't see it, but they can hear in the Zoom. It's just hit that bad boy. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you. Well, Robert did the most important part, which is showing you exactly what happens when you're actually applying all of this stuff. So really, I'm just here to talk about the community and kind of where the 643 is coming from. Because a lot of people have heard of the Amway Corporation and they think, oh, I know exactly what that is. They have no idea. So my background is in economics, and I worked in hedge funds, and I'm from Western New York, Western and Central New York. So I grew up there, and I loved all the apple farms and wine country. I love it up there. So really, when I came down here, my biggest thing is small business. So I've always, being in economics, I love small business. And we had a daughter born with severe autism. She's 27. I cannot believe she's 27. She's 27 years old. She is still nonverbal. She is typing to communicate, which is pretty amazing. But her diagnosis, and actually before that, my father had cancer when I was 10 to 14, and he passed away. And I learned from my mom to question the medical community and to question everything. So way back in 1980, I watched my mom help my dad live longer than he was supposed to, because she actually bought stuff from Mexico and Germany and learned about all this. She learned about all the stuff back then about the soil that was being, we were back then even doing glyphosates and all that stuff. So I learned from that. Then Hannah was born, and she was very compromised. And so I have always been the person to question, what are we doing? What are we eating? What are we putting in our bodies? I can tell you right now, because people always ask me this question when they find out we have Hannah. She never had immunizations. So she is one of those kids that we don't know why. We don't know if it's generational, who knows, but she didn't have them. But she didn't have them because I learned all about it from a friend who just said to me, just a community friend, actually through the Amway Corporation, who said, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but you're pregnant right now with your first child. You should just research all the stuff they want to give her from the, immunizations. And she said, just research it. I'm a huge researcher. I've already read that book and I love it. I love reading. So anyway, that made me question so much. And I actually went to the doctor, and I remember telling my husband, when you take Hannah to the doctor, they're going to want to give her 4 shots. She was 4 pounds, 8 ounces. That's how tiny she was when she was born. And so I said, they're going to make you feel like a bad parent for not wanting to give her 5 shots right now. And I'm not against all of that. I'm just saying you need to question. So my husband is extremely mild-mannered. He is not intense like me. So he went and he came back from the appointment with my daughter, and he threw her tiny folder down with the 2 papers of her being born. And he goes, I guess we got to find a new pediatrician. Now, my husband is basically a PhD in math. That's his background, went to Vanderbilt University. So his biggest thing is he walks in, he just had a few questions, very mild-mannered, had a few questions. They tried to make him feel like a bad parent. And he was like, you know what? my wife said you might do this, and I just can't believe it's happening. So all that to say, when I first came here and learned about what you guys were doing, I was already on the train of, I don't want to have stuff that has all this chemicals in it, the pesticides, the herbicides. I have actually owned an Amway business since I was 18 years old. So 40 years, basically, I have actually owned an Amway business. I have been on what they produce, the Nutrilite, and you're going to see a video on Nutrilite. The reason I'm showing that to you is that's where this NutriPlant AG comes from, and that's their philosophy. So that's why I'm showing this to you. So I've been on those vitamins forever, and I've helped market those vitamins forever, and I believe in them these 40 years. So I have in-laws who are in their 80s, who one of them is on no medication still. The other one just has some heart medication. But my mom also, she's going to turn 80 this year, no medications. My Aunt Kathy turned 82 this year, and she we actually helped get her off of most of her meds. She went through some cancer treatments. She is actually healthier now than before she had cancer, which is pretty amazing because we have helped her through all of that. She's lost like 80 pounds and she's doing really, really well. So I have really been into health, what you're putting in your body, how our food is made. And the biggest thing that came out of COVID is once we moved to Northwest Georgia, I'm in Cartersville area right now. I started connecting with farmers. I've purchased from Will. I've purchased meat from Will because you can buy like entire. It's amazing. You can, like, in one season, you probably already know, some of you already know this, but there's so many local farmers that you're like, yes, I want a cow. And then they raise that cow and they kill that cow and they cut it up for you, and you don't have to do all the messy part. And it's very nice. I really appreciate that. So, but I love local. I'm really into local. And I think you guys started this at, to me, the point where people are really recognizing local is the way to go. So, so that's why I'm really, the first time Buck invited me to this, I was like, this is it. So my strength and our strength with what we do with NutriPlant and Amway is that we are networkers, like professional networkers. So I have always loved putting people together. I've always loved gathering people and putting them together in community. So I've already talked to all my neighbors. I live in a neighborhood of 5. We all have 5 to 10 acres, mostly forest. By the way, if you compost in the forest where there are bears, be very careful because now we have a bear coming around. So anyway, we've had to learn how to navigate that. But I've learned so much from Robert just in the few times I've been here. So I'm the crazy lady in the neighborhood that's like, no, don't spray anything, nothing around here, because they all get like, what are the lawn services? Like green something. And they're every time my husband and I walk the neighborhood, I'm like, don't step on that lawn. Look, it looks like a golf course. That's not right. That shouldn't be happening. So, because my husband walks out and he's like, there's too many weeds. I'm like, no, there's bees and there's butterflies. We're good. Leave it, So I'm the one in the neighborhood. Plus we're all on wells. And I am so into what is happening with the water. So we're constantly testing our water. And I don't like people in our neighborhood. We're kind of down and our well is pretty deep. But I keep telling everyone in the neighborhood, you need to be paying attention to what you're putting on your soil because it is eventually coming into your water. So just be really careful about that. So anyway, all that to say, I'm loving the community, and our expertise is putting communities together that stick together. 40 years, I've put communities together. So we're really good at that. So I'm not going to go through this whole thing. I actually put this up here because if you want some background of where Nutrilite started, it started in 1939 by a guy who had traveled to China and actually done some studies and realized people were not at that time putting in their bodies what they needed to. And he kind of saw the industrialization coming, and he went back and started doing his own farming for his own vitamins and supplements. And actually, the guys that started Amway were distributors for Nutrilite. And that's how they came together and started the Amway Corporation. Most people have no idea the history, which is pretty phenomenal. But this guy, Carl Renborg, there's a whole book on this man and his studies. He actually discovered phytonutrients before they were phytonutrients. I can't remember what he called them. Do you remember what he called them?
He named vitamins.
Oh, he named vitamins. That's right. That's right. So this story is a fascinating story. He was very much about harvesting, growing and harvesting and knowing where everything came from. so that when you took a supplement, you knew exactly where it came from. Nutrilite to this day has something called NutriCert. They know exactly where all of their stuff came from seed all the way to pellet form. And they even have patented processes. Everything is organic and pesticide free and all that stuff. And you'll see a video here. I think the next one is the video. Yeah. See if I can get it to. Oh, darn. Did it not come out as a video? Oh. I had it in there as a video, so I'm not sure why. Darn, it was so good.
Get out.
Yeah. I can probably put it up. I can probably connect to my phone. I can pull it up here on your web. Like I can just pull it up. I can do it after this because I'm almost done with this. Yeah.
It's there on the screen, so. Can you get a link to the video?
Yeah, I'll do it. I hope I can do it. Let's see. I'll do it really fast just because this video is so good. I had it on my phone.
While she's doing that, I'll
Yeah, go
talk
ahead.
about filling.
And then get where the other half of you would see you. You're talking to half the people.
Okay. Well, the camera's all right there. So they're all a bunch of money.
So right there. So.
If they can hear me,
Yeah.
we can rock like that. About what's going to our body. In the past, I have explained to you guys the research that Florida did about arsenic in our foods. Now they've done it by year, what you're allowed to. One thing I tell people a lot, just to summarize it all up, a Kit Kat bar, which almost everyone's had, for the arsenic allowed to not harm your body, it's 3 pieces a year of a Kit Kat bar. Just 3. A child is 1.5 to 2 a year. So you got to think about all your kids are eating a full Kit Kat, those little nerd gummies that people love so much, 3 to 6 pieces of those. A whole bag is probably about 20 to 30. And it's not just with the candy. The candy corporations have known that. Florida is the first state to do a in-state service check. That's happening with our bread, our sourdough bread, our wheat bread. The United States bread in this country is not really even bread. When you cut it open, it looks pressed and compressed to fake. Why would you have to put bleach and flour? Starches and flour, all these other carcinogens, toxicity levels are put in bread. Bread's supposed to look spongy and airy, not compressed. So when you guys get home, just look up London's bread, the Chinese bread, how their bread's actually supposed to look, and it's going to make you look at our bread in a whole nother aspect. People have known about this, companies have known about this. When we import different vegetables, at least coming from California, we get avocados and watermelons by the thousands daily. Why are their regulations less than ours to produce in this country than it is to get theirs shipped over here, and we can sell those with no problems? You can buy them from Costco's and Vons or Piggly Wiggly's, but if we grow it here, we have more of a regulations with more pesticides put on us. When you go to the store, just buy a piece or a head of broccoli, put it underneath a faucet, and you'll see the water go just over it. It's supposed to sink inside of it. To properly get produce the way you're supposed to get it, you're supposed to wash it in salt water, ice for at least 30, 60 seconds, and then continuously. And you can see the dirt and the bacteria gather in that. Put a little bit of salt in there too, and that'll clean all the wax off. But all you're getting is a wax-covered vegetable or fruit. 9 times out of 10, that has that dirt sealed in it, all the pesticides left over that are sealed in it because that wax coated. You don't get the nutritional value of that vegetable or fruit at all because that wax coated just sits in there and ferments. That's why a lot of people have digestive issues. So she's got that video pulled up, so we'll start rocking with that.
No, that is awesome. I love that because that's great information. A lot of people don't know that. I will tell you something else too. If you want something a little easier, Amway has a product called LOC, Liquid Organic Cleaner. They actually in the 1970s were awarded an environmental award for that product because it's you could drink it. But I dilute it in a spray bottle. I have a glass spray bottle. I put veggie wash on it. You can spray that stuff on it and it gets all that stuff off of there too. But I love the salt idea. I think that's a great idea. Yeah, it is.
people there built bowl, put the fruit in there, the vegetables, it is time. I didn't know they had that. So,
Yep, it's pretty amazing, right? Let's see if it actually plays.
all of a sudden, technology people work their pay that people want to say get healthier. Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah.
Which is sad.
Information is too available now.
You get it to play. Well, you know what? I'm not going to worry about it. I don't want you guys to sit here forever. I can't get it to play. I can send it to anybody that wants to see it. And you can see it on Amway or on YouTube or Neutralite.com, Amway.com, anything like that. But basically, what they're talking about is all the farms that they own. Everything is organic. They're all into regenerating the soil. The water quality that goes onto the fields is incredibly important. They're always testing that. Everything they do is testing and making sure that it's good for the environment, it's good for your body, all of that. So most people do not know any of that.
I have a question about that.
Yes.
My son, he works at ERA and they do test for Alabama Power, bunches.
Yep.
But the test, and they test for a lot of stuff,
Mhm.
they're like over $1,000. So what things do you test for? Because you can get simple tests, for like E. coli and things like that.
Right. No, so now Neutralite is itself its own corporation. So Amway actually just owns all of these companies, and Neutralite is one of them. Neutralite is about a $5.5 billion company. They do all of their own testing. Now, the fact that they are able to be organic, certified organic, and they're pharmaceutical grade, their testing, I'm sure, is extremely high testing. I can find that out, though. I have no problem. Oh, for my well, no. Yeah. There is about $500 or $600 testing thing that we do every year to see what's in its bacteria. I don't do the $20 one because it's just basically, do you have any bacteria? But you should, if you have wells, and honestly, test your water coming out of your tap if you are on city water. It's really important to know because typically what comes out of the tap water from city water is pharmaceuticals are in there. Bacteria is in there. There's a lot of stuff in there. And they used to use something called chlorine dioxide to clean the water, which is actually something that doesn't harm your body. But now they use chlorine, just straight chlorine, which is very harsh on everything. So yeah, it's important to test your water. But anyway.
I saw a clip about how much is antidepressants, how much antidepressants are in like regular tap water.
Yes. That's right. How did I get it onto this screen? Where's Robert? Robert. Matthew. I need to get it back to
the slides.
The slides, if you don't mind. Oh, is anyone having allergies too? So one thing I'm having. My eyes are out to here.
So
we can close that one out. But I couldn't close it. I was trying to close it. It's very stubborn. It won't close. Well, you don't even have to see the slide. You can just do it. So, really, my other point of being here is just to talk about, I've got NutriPlant AG information that you can see. That's the 643 that goes with the magnesium. My husband and I are actually doing the magnesium, the 643. We don't need the deer repellent right now. It's not going to do anything for us being in the woods, but we're doing it on the parts that haven't been growing, and we're going to be planting what's it called, like ground cover that are flowering. So we're taking before and after pictures. So I'm kind of interested to see how well this stuff works just on our yard. I think it's going to be really great for that. So what we're really good at is putting those networks together. So when it comes to marketing all of these different products, the magnesium and the nano, you guys are going to have to talk about how you market that one. The NutriPlant AG, basically, you just get an Amway number, which is totally free. There's no commitment. and then you're able to just distribute that from anybody. You can sell it at any cost you want to. You can sell it at cost, your cost, which is totally fine. You can sell it for a profit if it's a larger corporation. You can do any of that stuff. So it just gives you license to be able to market that product. And then the deer repellent, you can get that. So we just wanted to come in and say, let's help build the community of people that network together, that really go out and become fishers of men when it comes to this in our communities. And that's kind of where we spend more. That's where we message. I don't know what it is. Sorry. I did. You could just shut, oh, you could shut it all down because people are on, aren't they?
That should take care of it.
There you are.
This is the video, right?
There's the video. Thank you.
All right.
Younger.
I would say that sustainable are definitely the hardest farm. We consider the farm a living organism. So everything we do on the farm. Our goal is to grow healthy, nutrient-rich plants. Create a farming system where we don't use pesticides or herbicides or any synthetic chemicals. Our ingredients originate from plant, and each plant has different needs. We have farms in Brazil, El Pedical, Mexico, and also 2 different farms. And this is through our NutriServe program. All of these farms are placed in these different locations because they have different topography, different climate, and allow us to grow the best plants for our products. Planting all the way through harvesting and eventually selling. I want to show that what we end with is more than what we started with. We're creating a sustainable future for the next generation.
Yeah. You don't want me to touch it, do you? Smart man.
Let's see here.
I think I just flipped it to the camera for some reason. I don't even know how I did that. Anyway, they have so many. You can actually go visit any of their farms. If, especially, I was thinking, Robert, you would, just with your background,
Field trip.
They welcome anybody to come and ask questions. Their scientists love to take people out and show them the farms. It's pretty amazing. But to know that, like, I brought some vitamins with me, just like you guys can try, not take them here, but I brought little samples. But to know that when you open that if you called Neutralite and said, I need to know where this came from, you just give them the number on the back and they can tell you the field that it came out of, the date that it was harvested. And I found that pretty amazing. Like all the different products, they can tell you what fields and where. So there's not anybody that can really do that. They've never had a product recall since 1939. There's never been a product recall. And that's pretty phenomenal too. You won't find pharmaceuticals or anything in there. And I'm only telling you this because you have to understand that when they make NutriPlant AG, this is the same thought process, the same philosophy that they go with. They use this on their farms too. So I actually called Kathy Victor, who just loves me. Anyway, she's kind of a generational person in Amway. and I give her a lot of grief for stuff. She's like she's the person I give her grief. I give grief to, but I also called her and told her about what we're doing here and wondered if there would be something, for you guys to go do with the Amway farms when it comes to the nano, because I think that would be an amazing thing. Who knows? I have no idea. I don't know what they do, and she doesn't either, but who knows? We can put those connections together. But so that's to me, that's what networking is all about. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know who needs this, who needs to be part of a community and part of this foundation. And a lot of people shy away from Amway, and I say, don't shy away. We've been around for a really long time, and we actually set the standard for what business does when it comes to networking. And of course, I've been around for a long time now. I can't believe that. I used to be one of the young people. But to say that I've been with something for 40 years is pretty phenomenal. So that's where we really want to build community, put people together. And we know people in countries. I mean, we know people in, let me tell you how powerful this network is. 15 years ago, my husband and I said, I'm going to win us a kitchen. One of those radio stations was giving away a kitchen. And we had spent all our money on Hannah, just so you understand. But anyway, I was like, we're winning the kitchen. So I heard about it. We became a finalist, final of 4. And then all it was people called in and voted for you. Right, Buck? And I said to Jeff, actually the people that were giving away the kitchen became friends of ours. And I said, oh, I'm winning this kitchen. And they were like, oh, well, you're pretty confident. And I said, no, we have an Amway business. I don't think you understand Amway people. They're more loyal than church people. So we won the kitchen by thousands of votes because people from Brazil, Australia, Russia were voting for our kitchen because somebody, they didn't even know who we were. They just knew somebody who knew somebody. That's exactly what networking is all about. And so that's where I feel like what you guys are doing needs to be integrated into doing that too. So, whatever you guys need from us, we're here for you, but that's the power of a network and a community. And I think that's really what I see here. The first day I came here, what I saw was go back to your community and talk about farming and farming sustainably and regeneratively and small, and help people with, because honestly, I don't think people understand how food sensitive we are when it comes to supply. So it's really important for people in your community to know how to do this, So anyway, that's all I wanted to say. I didn't even go through the rest of my thing because I just said what I wanted to say. But I have all the information. I have samples. And I've got more of these too. So.
Yes, sir.
It's a little bit complicated.
This is a question about the ratio of NutriPlant to magnesium nanoplate, hydroxide nanoplate.
You epidemic or you do that's got to be.
Yeah, so context is most important. We're doing a maintenance treatment plan for a fungal outbreak.
And you said
Yes, sir. So for this example and this question, it's a context, and it depends on what you're doing. For what we are doing, maintenance program to address a fungal outbreak, we did the last soil drench we did with the magnesium was 2,400 parts per million.
Now you do the foliar.
Now we're doing a foliar spray, so I don't have to do that intense.
You have 2 different. And one you established, you want 1,200 parts per million.
Yes, sir. So we were looking at 1,200 parts per million for the magnesium.
You have to, your mixture is an 83.3 to 1 ratio to get it down, because you your part per million you start with, your concentration is your 10%. So to get down to your 12%, 1,200 part per million, you have to do an 83.3 to 1 ratio. That gets you diluted for the water on the magnesium. Now your question was, what is the ratio between your fertilizer and your part per million? You know the amount you're going to be using is 20 gallons. You just said that. That's gotta be known. Now you know the amount of magnesium you're putting into your product, into the water to dilute it to 1,200 parts per million. You know that you have a 1 and 1/2 ounces of your fertilizer per gallon.
Mhm.
And you're gonna use the amount of gallons you got, that's gonna take 30 ounces of fertilizer to your 20 gallons of water.
Right.
Now, if you've got your equations right, and if you've got your spraying right to each one of your blackberries, then you just make one trip to it. But you've got two different dilutions. These dilutions change from one plant to another if you've got a soil treatment. And we're not talking about soil treatment. We're talking about foliage spray.
Right.
When you move it to 2,400 parts per million on soil drenching, and you want to put fertilizer into the soil, you didn't say that. Are you doing this also?
Not with the NutriPlant, because I'm not putting that into the soil. I don't want to throw a monkey wrench in here, because I have an additional product that we're now using for the soil it's a composted chicken manure pelletized fertilizer. That's different.
That's good. You put the fertilizer aside, you already know what you want to put in that thing.
Yes, sir.
2,400 parts per million. It's gonna be half of the 83.
Right. Right.
It's gonna be 42 parts to 1.
Right.
You get that diluted to put in the soil. Fertilizer is up to y'all. Y'all do what you want to with that.
I'm just listening to this and I worked in IT data analysts, bunch of stuff that seems like if there was an app that you had like his, 5, 10 things that you have to think about before you know how to spray it. And you could pick and it goes, and things that that would be a better thing to do it.
I have a system for that if you want.
Lisa's volunteered.
I already have. There's an AI program called FieldLark. I can show it to you. I'll tell you later. There are AI programs out there that can help you with that. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Now, do you know how much can you scale down? Gallon per 1,200 parts per million. And then you can go with the 1,200 parts per million per gallon.
Right. Yeah. So this is kind of to summarize all of it. Just, we got to the same endpoint that Tom and I did. So I combined the NutriPlant and the magnesium in my treatment of my blackberries. Now, I may not add the magnesium every time with the NutriPlant, but when I do to apply the NutriPlant and the magnesium, I'm applying the NutriPlant at 1.5 ounces per gallon, 643. And because of the dilution that I have of the magnesium, I'm putting 0.8 ounces per gallon in that tank. So 1.5 ounces of NutriPlant, 0.8 ounces of magnesium per gallon of water. Combine that solution, and I know it takes me about 20 gallons in my tank to spray the entire blackberry orchard. Do y'all follow me?
Yeah.
So it's almost a 2 to 1. But he said 83%, so that's where we get the 2 to 1.
Dr. Brandon, how often are you spraying that?
Okay, so now we're kind of in a maintenance. We're in a maintenance program now, so we will spray probably 2 times, maybe 3 times in this entire season with this system. We don't have to spray as much as we did before. So in the next year, it'll be 1, maybe 2 times. It's going to diminish over time because our plant health is restored. Now, what we're going to talk, when we walk about with our phases of our plant growth, we will spray 5 times in a year, not dealing with the issue in the blackberries, because we have the 5 phases of the plant. So that's bud initiation, bud break, cell division, fruit set, and fruit harvest. Those are the 5 times the plant needs a little extra. So that's different than what we're talking about with the magnesium. This magnesium is a treatment program.
With the rust, you said you had some that if the leaf touched the ground, you got a little bit of rust on.
That's what we did.
Evidence that you still got it in the ground.
Yeah, so that's why we did the soil drench to take care of that. So it was around the base of the plant. But yeah, but I think this ratio, what we're talking about, the NutriPlant, it's hard to say what the ratio of NutriPlant to magnesium is because it really depends on what you're doing. But you can kind of think what we're doing, it's 1.5 ounces a gallon NutriPlant and 0.8 ounces a gallon of magnesium per gallon of water. So, but it's going to be different. It's one of those kind of answers. It really depends. So that's why Lisa has volunteered to develop an app. The one great thing is both of these products are very forgiving. So, yeah.
You know, just gonna do
Right.
that's up to 18.
Yeah. So we know for our assistants, we can get about a little over an acre with 20 gallons of spray. That would cover us.
Sorry,
There's lots of coming up who's already listed as a farmer in the market, whether it's flowers or beef or anything, vegetables. Find out who is already listed. Go stand before the farmer's market even starts.
Yeah. And some of the questions you want to ask at the farmer's market are, what are you spraying on your field? Are you regenerative? Yeah. Don't interrogate them. Yeah. Yeah. All right, we're going to take a little bit of a break here. I'd like to walk out and we're just going to walk right out back into our blueberries. Then we're going to walk around across the street to our blackberries. And one thing I want to show you guys are some handheld devices that we can use to test in the field. You don't have to send off something and wait for it to come back. And it's a lot of testing, a lot of data collection because you want to know what's going on. So I'm going to show you some really inexpensive tools that you can use and have in your tool chest to show you what's going on in your soil. So guys, we're going to head out to the farm. I think if somebody has a phone and can join the Zoom call, Bill's got it and we can video this. So we'll see you out here. If you want to use the restroom, we're just going right here, right there. And then we're going to come back in for some lunch.
Just a basic input, chat already. Get your bond. This is James Hart. That's you. Thank you. Thank you. Need a tape. Hey, look. Well, by the way. Sorry, I'm here. Say it. You're in. I see it. I'm sure it's a. You said. To me, this is the first good. Can y'all do the walk around with them and video what you're seeing on the Zoom? People in the country. It's automatically. Oh, we're having technical issues with the Zoom. All right. And if they can solve it between Matt, Josh, and Peyton, pick it up. Well.
What's the issue?
No, somebody's gonna go off. Whoever somebody's gonna not need it. They do it, but it. It's called passing the monkey. You got the monkey?
That monkey in the well.
Posted meeting.
Yeah, I think there's some help set out. Yeah, that should be the right one right there. Yeah, that works. That puts in. Get up there. We can party.
So it's
All right, work.
that part of the law. Just a question. See, you can copy that. Don't you do?
Oh.
Copy it.
Right, is those. Whatever you need to.
Technology, when it works.
Here.
Fish, this is a pedal. That's this building cell wall string. It needs calcium. So I add a little bit of calcium to the nutrient plant and spray. The deer don't bother these. I don't spray these with deer repellent. I don't spray these with any fungicides or pesticides. I don't have
all this from you. I gotta be the one side.
You got these right there. So we're doing all we can to not harm our bees. pH is really important. Most vegetables and fruiting plants are 6 to 6.5. Get up into 6.8. We want to be a little south of 7, which is neutral. These, on the other hand, are 4.5 to 5.5. Ideally, we want a pH of 5, very acidic. So when we put this in, this is a highly acidic soil, very, very shallow, a lot of clay. But as I noticed when I came on, that our production had dropped off. We weren't seeing what we normally saw. So I'm going to go, what is the pH? I don't want to have to do a lot of soil samples and send them off. So I bought this little meter for $23. It tells me the pH and the temperature of the soil. So I don't know. But the soil test people told me, it said it's not really that accurate. It's relative. So you need a base point, and you can see it's up and down. Now pH moves really slowly. But this is part where it plays. You see that? It's going down. 6.5, maybe 6.4. I'm a whole point at best away from where.
Now it's going.
So it should be ideally. I'd love to get it to 5. I did this first 6.
Does it have, is that one the magnesium don't?
Yes, sir. they're all in the
Let's see what it looks like on one that has
the
big
entire
heat.
field is the mid sixes. It's way too high.
They're back.
I've only drenched this once and I've been spraying it. So I haven't drenched it yet. But we got to get it down. So a month ago, I put elemental sulfur on at 4 ounces per plant, which is enough to supposedly move over 3 months, move the pH a half a point. If I tried to move it that much, that fast, it would probably not be healthy for these plants. So
About lime.
the same thing, yeah. Lime's,
Stick.
let's go bring it up. Lime's alkaline. Really?
Yes.
Well, I read all the literature recommends elemental sulfur on it. That's what everybody's doing. So I went to every plant with them. So we'll do it again in about 3 or 4 more months to try to get it back. That'll be post harvest. But twice a year is what they recommend. Try to get that pH down. So we hadn't done anything of these in years. So we're going to keep it back up. But see, we have the mulch on top. That's bringing it that pH back up.
Dr. Donald Ball, University of Ball, told me that mine will bring the pH down or it bring the pH down.
Because I had the same issue. My blackberry pHs were in the low to mid fives. Blackberries were going to be around 6 to 6.5. So I did apply Pelletized lime, brought my pH up for the blackberries.
They supposed to put it to the nutrient side.
Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly the even if it's high, or even close.
So what we do is all of our orchards and plots we measure once a month, and we're tracking it to see how our now it's moved slowly, but this is the only plot we have out of all of our things that are out of the zone. Everything else is in the right zone of what everything doing. This is really too high, way too high. So we're trying to move our pH down. But $23, I know like that. A regular soil sample costs $10.
Yeah.
So and you send it off somewhere. Now that's the extension soil test. In our vegetable gardens, I use the Haney test, which looks at organic matter, carbon nitrogen ratios, a lot of really nerdy soil science stuff. And I just got it back for a vegetable garden. Last year we had organic matter of 5% in our vegetable garden. We got it up to 7.7 now. So 1% organic matter takes a 1-inch rain, which means the water doesn't run off and infiltrate. So we can take a 7-inch rain in our vegetable garden without it going into the lake. So we have no erosion in our gardens. And then also that's really feeding a lot of good soil health. Got microbial action going on. So we don't have to fertilize heavily in our vegetable gardens to sustain the healthy plants that we're looking for. The other thing I wanted to show you is, well, we can try this and see, but this is a refractometer. One thing here, we're measuring sugar content, bricks content in all of our fruits. So we're at about, I think we measured 15% last year sugar content in our blueberries. My personal goal is to get it to 20. If I can get it to 20, there will be a line down the road of people trying to eat these blueberries. So we're trying to raise our sugar content levels. And here's the thing about that. That's going to promote soil health, but also help fight off bugs. So because your nitrates are getting consumed in the plant cycle, you're not leaving nitrates out on the leaves. That's what draws the bugs in. So that's very important. But what you do on this thing, this is again, it's a field. This one, I think this costs $35. So I don't even know if there's any sugar in these green berries. Find one that's kind of big. I haven't done this, so there's no time. So what you do is you should take the area. This is my little garlic press, and just going to put a little juice on here. I don't even know if the juice will come out. I'm probably not even going to make any juice. Yeah, there's really not any juice in there yet. Oh, there's some of it here. I think you can see this. So you're just going to squeeze a little juice on this little slide cover here.
You get any juice out of it?
Yeah, it's not showing up. There's not enough juice in there. But we take a berry like that, squeeze the juice on the slide, look through, field test tells us what the sugar content is. That's all. And in a matter of,
Does it have a graph in there, or what does it have?
That's all lines.
yeah, it's got percentage in there. And there'll be a color differentiation in that. But in a matter of 5 seconds, you can get your sugar readings on all your fruit. I would suggest this. This is not just unuseful information. This is tracking how healthy our plants are with the sugar content that we have. This is a hot topic right now in the regenerative, non-synthetic fertilizer stuff. What is the sugar content of my grass for beef production? Because if I have good sugar content in my grasses, and I have grass finished beef, guess what I'm going to have? Marbling, which a lot of grass fed stuff doesn't have the marbling, which people don't like that tough taste. But farmers are showing if they can raise their sugar levels in their grasses, they're going to have better marbling in their beef.
Really?
Without the synthetics. So we're tracking pH, we're tracking sugar content level. The other thing I didn't bring out was we'll start measuring microbe to bacteria, fungal to bacteria ratios in our soil. In vegetables, we want 1 to 1. In our more woody plants and our tree fruits, you're going to want about a 14 to 1. So that's going to tell us really specifically about our soil health, fungal to bacteria ratio. Very important. So we're tracking those 3 things as well as how much we're pulling off the plant. But what I wanted to show you that I think is really, I'm encouraged. I'm sleeping better at night. You can see the number of fruit, and we had a heavy frost here, and we were able to forego some of the loss. But these bushes are loaded. I mean, we're going to have a lot of berries, probably more than we had last year, because we sprayed in the fall for bud set, and then we sprayed when the buds broke, and then we sprayed with fertilizer. We sprayed again when the petals fell off. So we've gone through bud set, bud break, and cell division. When these fruit get a little bit bigger, we'll hit it again with another dose of the NutriPlant, not the magnesium. And then I think we're going to add maybe some boron. I think there's something else we have to add to this, but it's a complicated spreadsheet. The way this used to be was in March, put out 6 ounces per plant of 20-10-10. In October, put out 4 ounces per plant of 15.500. That was the plan. It didn't matter what the plant looked like or how it was doing. That was the program we were following. So now we're very intimate with our plants, what's going on at a particular time. Let's give the plant what it needs at that particular time. So we're not wasting anything, not throwing money out, just burning money, that kind of stuff. Stuff is being absorbed into the plant, and we will augment this with probably just 1, maybe 2 times with the new composted chicken litter, which is a 333 with 2,700 different strains of mycorrhizal fungi and bacteria. Non-pasteurized, organic certified, breaks down. It wasn't heated for the rain.
That's great.
So it's really exciting.
So people could call in. Oh, boy, you would have.
Yeah, so these are our blueberries. We have about an acre. We do a U-pick here, and then we have some high school kids from the girls' ranch that come and work for us this summer. They help harvest the berries, which we turn into different products with the blueberries. So, so we trimmed these back pretty far this past year. So we pruned them back down because, as you can see, the growth is up top. And last year they were tall and people couldn't pick. So we fed the birds with them. Now we can pick the entire bush, not have fruit loss.
If you do that, if you bring them down, does it give more fruit?
Yeah, we did that, and we also took out one cane, one of the big trunks. We take out a big mature trunk every year because your
Or
fruit
damaged.
production was that
Or damaged.
or damaged. Yeah, damaged.
Got it.
Or the newer growth has the fruit on it. So we've got a lot more growth this year than we did last year. Yeah, it's the same thing on the figs. The figs over there. Try to have 9 to 12 shoots and lower it down so you're picking like this as opposed to this.
Oh, yeah.
Last year, the problem we had was they were so tall that the crows just loved us. And they would line up that wire because we couldn't get to them.
So you're the farm that fed wildlife for a while.
Now we will coexist. Yeah. The other thing we have here on the vines, those are muscadines, and scuppernons. They just leafed out this first part of this week. So they're once I see a few blooms, we'll hit those. They got sprayed for the bud initiation. Then we'll probably hit them in the next 10 days with the bud break, and then we'll hit it again with the fruit set. Now that last row I thought it was going to die last year. Tom, that got a magnesium drench and spray, and it came back to life. So testify to that. Let's walk across the road and look at the blackberries.
They want that. He's a wealth of info. 380.
They don't even almost see
Something. We started with because we're going to get it like watch.
Gotta come out with an AI app to calculate all this now. You can plug it in with GPT and then make it one, right? Well, there's a lot of factors. Yeah, you could use GPT, but if we made like a user friendly app, put in what fertilizer you're using, how much. Oh, what I'm saying is you can plug what you need with GPT and it'll like cover. Yep. Oh yeah. You know how to do that? Just plug it in. Tell it what you. Tell it what it plug it in. Yeah. Hey. Oh. But when it can't absorb it. I use Gemini. But I feel better. Yeah. May not. Waiting on everybody to get over here, but here's our blackberry plot.
Well, so I'm in Northwest Georgia, Cartersville area.
It's an acre and a third.
Yeah, you should.
Robert, what do you know about that?
Hybrid strain out of Arkansas, and these are trellis, and the system we use is called T-pups, trellis production utilizing primocane suppression. So blackberries are every other year. So this is this year's growth. Here is next year's fruiting growth down here. See that one right there? That's next year. So we want all the energy to go to this year's fruit production. So here's a blossom. Here's a baby blackberry here. And so we'll come through and trim these lower canes off, and the new growth for next year will suppress that. So all the energy is into this blackberry production for this year. The goal is to let we're experimenting a little bit, let more canes grow up, but 2 canes go up. One goes to this wire, one goes to this wire. When it gets to 3 inches, we clip it, and then we want to see lateral branching or lateral growth out to the wire. So that will look like a vineyard. But we haven't had that because we had the fungal outbreak and they just got so stressed, and we're way behind on this. But normally it's more like kind of in front of Tom there, you'd have this wire covered and this wire covered. A couple of things about it. A lot of good airflow, sunshine down, but also a lot easier to pick. I mean, you just walk along and you're right here. You're not sticking your hand in a bush, and I've never seen a snake out here. And so that's where we got this is the rust. And so this is the old leaf here. And so this is last year's leaf. And so they're in the system. So we're trying to beat the system and suppress the system. But these are the fungal spores. You can see how small they are. And they just, you bump the plant, you touch the plant, and touch another plant, and it just goes right to the plant. So it's a tough, and it's really fast. I mean, it happens fast. So we've been treating these with the magnesium. We fertilize with the NutriPlant. We soil drenched. Like I said last week, we're going to spray this tomorrow, foliar spray with the magnesium. And then I've also added another organic fungicide because it's just been so bad to try to get ahead of it. It's called Pinion. It's a new product that they came out with, Advanced EcoAg has. And it helped too. The two together have helped us get really healthy plants. There's no yellow rust on any of the new growth. So it's clear. But as Tom pointed out, a lot of this may be is still in the soil. That's why they say pull them out, burn them, blah blah blah. But we believe with the magnesium and the Pinion, we're gonna be good. Yeah. So ideally, all these wires would be covered with growth and production. That's going to get us back into good production. But managing pH, keep the weeds down. We got pine bark mulch and wood chip mulch on top to let it break down. And these are heavy clay soils. There's some beautiful soil in here. I mean, it is just dark and healthy. Earthworms, I mean, the whole 9 yards.
I'm curious on your mulch. Do you let it set for a year before you put it on here, or do you just get fresh mulch?
Put it on. It's top dressing, yeah.
Okay.
And I have some bad news for you.
Oh no.
Chip mill shut down.
The what?
Chip mill out here on 280.
Oh.
Chip mill, yeah. That's where we were all getting our pine bark.
Shut down.
The lighter colors are from the tree service. I chase them down if I see a chip truck go by. They dump it. They don't want to haul it around, so they're happy to dump it. So we've probably gotten 25, 30 loads this last year, and I actually like it better. It's finer, so we have better weed suppression, and and also we talked a lot about biodiversity. We're not putting the same thing on the plant all the time with things like biomass and mulch. We're switching our mulches up to get a better soil condition. Yeah. So this is what we're working with in the blackberries. That block is doing pretty good. This block's doing a lot better than it has in the past. And our other block is down that way, and it looks pretty bad. But that's the one we had the soil cloth on, and we ripped it out. I mean, it was a major upsetting of the neighborhood. Major, because that one was 55% of our production. The smallest block last year was 55. The last 2 years, 55% of our production. It's not going to make it this year, but we were.
And what was under that fabric?
Under the fabric was red dirt and unused fertilizer. So, yeah, we use drip irrigation on our plants with filtered lake water. We have dual biosand filter to take out. I forgot the microns, but take out anything. We'll start testing the water. I've never tested the water, but as a water monitor tester, I'll start like know better. But it's it's always something, always a surprise here and there. Yes, ma'am. Don't say that.
But I was wondering if there's antifungal like plants, like herbs and things like that. Could you do continuum cleaning?
Yes, ma'am. I don't know if we would do it in here. We do it in the vegetable garden. We do marigolds and basil, and amongst a lot of the plants. Oh yeah. The other thing you can do is we know like Japanese beetles are coming. We stumbled upon this when we started propagating our knockout roses. We had to plant them another place on the property. We had 75 rose bushes. Where we planted them, we noticed that we didn't have any Japanese beetles in our blackberries. Before we had traps and they were spraying for them. And I think 2 years ago we found like 3, but they were all in the roses.
Oh,
The trap
crops. So they're coming, so you can direct them where they go.
oh, that makes sense.
So like the deer, what we did, we cover cropped some of our plots, our vegetable plots, and didn't fence it off, and they ate that down there. They didn't come over here. So they're coming, but you can plant.
Give them what they want.
Give them what they want, but make them stay over there. Yeah, marigolds are good. Herbs, all your herbs are going to be good. Rosemary, deer hate rosemary. They hate marigolds. So we plant those around. This is pretty.
It is pretty. It is pretty.
They don't like Lantana either.
Don't like
No, they
Lantana.
don't. It is for sure they don't.
It's funny though what they do like. They like
Yeah.
oak leaf hydrangeas.
Yes, they do.
Which I'm like, they love roses and they love blackberries. So before the problem we had was in the dormant season, or just as they started to bud out, and these are on the wire, they would come through and it's almost like they keep a corn cob. They would just go down and strip it. And so then we didn't have any flowers because they'd eaten all the buds. So once we started spraying the liquid fence, it really helped. And I'm spraying less and less of it. So I don't know if it's a fluke here or they're staying over there because that guy's feeding them corn or.
Can you spray that stuff, say just around the edges of the, or do you have to spray?
I sprayed the plant.
Oh, spray the plants.
Yes,
That's, you have to,
because I'm already spraying it because I've got my fertilizer and my other
you have
stuff in
to
there.
do all the plants.
I do.
Okay, I did wonder if we could just put a border of it, but that wouldn't even work. I mean,
I think you could. I've not tried that. They make a granular. I don't like the granular as well as coating the plant with the spray. And I dilute it way down. I don't go with the recommendation because it's.
well, somebody said something, they put some fishing wire some out.
Yeah, they don't like to touch it. Yep.
And I've heard people do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bump into it and they don't know what it is.
The geese are the same way. We used to have, before we had some of these fences, we had a low wire around. And it took them a while to figure out to hop over it, but they would bump against it. And
Yeah, some people use those propane cannons.
I need mine too.
yeah, they don't think the neighbors would like that.
That.
I've thought about that.
I even forgot my son.
Yeah, we usually shoot a pro or two. That works. Leave
It did.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I mentioned the crows. They mimic your behavior, and everybody kind of leaves the farm around 5 o'clock, and about 4:50 they would fly in and line that wire. They were leaving, and you see them flying off with figs and stuff. So I shot one last year. I let it lay on the ground for three days, and they didn't really come back after that.
So that's what I need.
Had to get rid of one, huh?
Yeah, one took one for the team, but yeah. So and just a couple of things. You have very important. We walked down to the garden. I was going to show you. We had a place where we didn't have enough to cover a bed, and the temperature is like right now. It's probably over 100. You go, it feels pretty good out here, but that sunshine bakes the top of that soil, and so anything over 130, it just kills it. I mean, all your stuff that you've worked hard to do, if you don't cover your soil, you just set yourself back.
Oh yeah.
Water retention, temperature, it really cools things down and makes it much more plant friendly. So really cover that, and they call it armoring the soil. Cover your soil. And we, over the season, in our non-productive vegetable spaces, we cover crop it with a mixture of cool season grasses and brassicas and legumes, English peas. And when we planted a lot of those places, and we terminated with a weed eater, actually, and we didn't till it. We could dig the hole for the transplant with our hand.
Wow.
Where there wasn't, we were chiseling it out.
Yeah.
Because what happens is the raindrop pulverizes the soil and basically turns that surface to concrete.
Yeah.
So you have initial compaction zone just from the rains falling on uncovered soil. So
Y'all have any armadillo problems? Armadillo?
we got one around here every now and then. So a funny story about that. My neighbor up there, Mr. Steve, he had them really bad in his yard. And so he's, I'm gonna sit up one night and I'm gonna get me one. And I don't know if he had drunk too much wine, but he was sitting down and he goes, "Oh, there's one right over there." And he's like, "I can see his eyes. I can see his eyes. I don't know, I'm gonna shoot him." So it's like a 22. So he raises it up and he goes, "Wait, that's my propane tank."
Tell him to lock his guns up when he's drinking.
Me and my neighbors, I got everybody shooting them. We killed over 150 of them.
Oh,
we had an invasion.
That's an epidemic.
Yellow jackets.
I even bought a special trap, armadillotrap.com. It's wooden. Set it up next to your house and put boards out, and they'll come right in there. Leave him in there 24 hours. Don't let him die in the trap. He'll stink it up, and the rest of them will keep coming.
Oh really?
They go by scent.
You're blind, right?
Yeah,
Do
nearby.
they carry leprosy?
Yeah, I would put some gloves on, before I picked them up.
That's just between the third and fourth toe.
I even
The only ones I've seen in Georgia are dead, I've seen one alive.
Come in there,
but they're
and
dead
I
on
had
the
8
side of the
zones,
road all the time.
and it would beep about 2 o'clock in the morning. Beep, 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 beep. I said, "That's zone 4." I slipped out there with my shotgun.
You need to talk to Steve.
My neighbor just feels lucky.
Yeah. I have taken a little bit softer position because the geese just bothered me because they were eating stuff and pooping everywhere. And then somebody said, you know what? They're eating bugs and weed seed. I'm like, all right, as long as they stay where they're supposed to stay, we'll kind of coexist.
Just don't poop in the wrong place.
That's right. I mean, yeah. So,
Probably don't have too many squirrels, do you?
we're starting to see a few more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I had a squirrel problem too. They chewing on the house.
Oh, yeah.
I done killed
One of the neighbors did.
65.
They're kind of up there. They stay up there.
Got a mess.
Well, yeah, in the infestation when I lived in East
Live in
Kyle.
the woods.
Yeah.
You know.
Subdivision, didn't think about it. Yeah, some more fell in the house and found out how to prune them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and why don't we go back in and eat? There is, if you'll help them get.
Yep.
No, it's done.
Hey, thank y'all so much for joining us today. New Water Farms here, and it's been an honor to host you guys, be a part of done today. Best in our communities to make everything better through agriculture. So thank y'all so much for joining, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day.
Bless you, Dr. Brandon. Thank you so much. All right.
I guess I can.
Is the
stop
person on
recording.
iPhone 253? Yeah.